Leonard Percival Howell is the most documented of the four early preachers of Rastafari, and often called the first Rasta. Born in 1898, Red Hills, Clarendon, Jamaica. Howell was sent abroad as a youth after witnessing a murder in his village. Fearing for his safety, his family sent young Leonard Howell to Cologne, Panama. Some believe he was employed by the United Fruit Company, resulting in him ending up in Harlem, New York around 1924. This was during the height of the Garvey movement, a fellow Jamaican who preached black solidarity and racial upliftment. Harlem was buzzing with new ideas, the Harlem Renaissance, the black nationalism echoed on street corners by soapbox preachers. It all helped to shape Howell's worldview and consciousness. A future leader was born. Following an arrest in New York, Howell was deported from the United States, returning to Jamaica in the early 1930s. He would become the most outspoken and organized of the early preachers, publishing The Promised Key and publicly declaring Haile Selassie as the returned Messiah. Howell's activism, however, carried cost. He quickly gained enemies due to his vocal criticisms of church and state. His troubles began in 1933, following a clash with clergymen in the parish of St. Thomas. Howell was under heavy surveillance as the colonial government received complaints about the preaching of Rastafari. In their complaints, some even went as far as to label Howell's movement as the Rastafari Gang. Leonard Howell later also clashed with Alexander Bustamante, a budding political figure at the time and future Prime Minister of Jamaica. Bustamante was a labor union leader, however. Howell's criticism of Bustamante led the latter to urge the colonial government to arrest and have Howell recommitted to the asylum in order to discredit him and his movement. And so, throughout the 1930s, Howell faced arrests, was tried for sedition in 1934, and later in 1939 labeled insane by authorities and confined to the mental asylum. Yet from jail and after his release, he built what may be the most enduring early legacy. During Ethiopia's war against fascist Italy in attempts to support Ethiopia, Howell sent communications to George Padmore, who was head of the International African Service Bureau, a group whose committee comprised of Jomo Kenyatta, Amy Ashwood, and T. Ras McConnell, among other stalwarts of the day. The colonial authorities reported of Howell's communication after his letter was intercepted. A letter Howell sent to Padmore along with his $5 donation, which was to assist Ethiopia's liberation efforts. During this period, Howell also established a friendly society which operated under a few names, mainly the African Salvation Union or also the Abyssinia League. Around 1940, Howell began to establish the Pinnacle community, a self-sustaining village in St. Catherine that practiced communal farming, spiritual ritual, and an early expression of Rastafari social organization. Situated in the hills of Sligoville, Pinnacle was home to several hundred followers, and Howell governed as shepherd of his flock. His group would eventually be called Howellites, as many who lived in Pinnacle began to view Howell as a prophet, and even Christ. While in Pinnacle, it wouldn't take long for the authorities to once again begin targeting Howell, arresting him for assault and cultivation of marijuana on several occasions throughout the 1940s. Eventually, Howell and his followers were forcibly removed from Pinnacle following a raid in June 1954. Howell, once again charged and committed to the asylum, seemed to have faded into the shadow as other leaders began to emerge primarily in Jamaica's capital city of Kingston. Pinnacle's existence and repeated police raids made Howell a symbol. For followers, a prophet and community builder. For authorities, a disruptive social experiment. Howell's mixture of religious conviction and social practice shaped the modern Rastafarian movement profoundly.